Good afternoon. We'll call the Board of Legislators meeting to order for April 26th, 2023. My name is Brooke Harris. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance as led by Legislator Adam Sear.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as we are led in an invocation by Legislator Gretchen Hanchett.
Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow and nurture the bonds of the communities we serve. Guide us in our decisions, enlighten our minds in every decision that we make. Give us your grace that we may effectively do our part as public servants. Bless our plans, programs, and projects that we may achieve our objectives as we strive in supporting Allegheny County as the best place to live, work, and play. Amen.
Thank you, Legislators Sear and Hanchett. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Barnes. Mrs. Burdick.
Here.
Mr. Curran.
Here.
Mr. Sear.
Here.
Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Here.
Mrs. Root.
Here.
Mr. Rumfelt. Mr. Stockin.
Here.
13 present, 2 absent.
Thank you, ma'am.
We were provided a copy of the board meeting minutes of April 12th. At this time, we need a motion to approve those minutes.
The motion is made by Legislator Hanchett, seconded by Legislator Havey. Any discussion, additions, or corrections to those minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved.
You were also provided a copy of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of April 19th, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made by Legislator Fanton and seconded by Legislator Root. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved.
On your desk is a copy of the May 2023 calendar. Are there going to be any changes? Please note that a Committee of the Whole meeting was added for Monday, May 8th at 10 a.m. and Wednesday, May 24th at 10 a.m. No additional changes? Thank you.
Do we have to tell you now?
Pardon?
Do we have to tell you now?
Preferably. Pursuant to Article 11 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law, County Treasurer Terry Ross filed certificates of withdrawal of delinquent tax liens for property in the town of Wellsville on April 11th and properties in the town of Willing in my office on April 12th. We received correspondence from the Allegheny County History Center in Andover announcing their open house on May 1st from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and inviting legislators to attend. We received correspondence from the Allegheny County Planning Board inviting legislators to attend their annual dinner. It's going to be held at Moon Wings on Wednesday, May 17th, and please let me know whether or not you plan to attend. We received correspondence from the SIO Bicentennial Celebration Committee dated April 25th requesting funding for their August 10th through the 13th bicentennial celebration and outlining how that money would be spent. We received a notice of the next Inter-County Association meeting. It's going to be hosted by Genesee County on Friday, May 12th. W. Brooke Harris, Chairman of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators, hereby appoints pursuant to Section 1197 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law in Resolution Intro Number 16623 of the Board of Legislators, Scott G. Grantier of Belmont, New York, is the coordinator of the Allegheny County Special Traffic Options Program for driving while intoxicated, effective May 1st, 2023, to serve at his pleasure. W. Brooke Harris, Chairman of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators, hereby reappoints Deborah A. Root of Scioto, New York, and appoints Carissa M. Knapp of Belmont, New York, as members of the Southern Tier West Regional Planning and Development Board for a 3-year term commencing June 1st, 2023, and expiring May 31st, 2026. This is subject to confirmation by the Board of Legislators.
Before we get into the resolutions, there are a number of distinguished individuals here today, but there's 2 distinguished individuals I'd like to recognize and thank them for joining us. The first is former legislator Scott Burt. I think I see you behind the pillar back there. I'd like to thank you for joining us today and thank you for your former service to this board. I'd also like to recognize Alfred Almond Central School graduate and current valued member of the AE Hook and Ladder Company, Kelly Snyder, is here joining us today. Kelly, thank you for joining us. Madam Secretary, resolutions?
Resolution intro number 16223. Resolution recognizing and thanking Allison Dickinson for her contributions to the betterment of Allegheny County. This resolution is being offered by legislators Gary Barnes, Janice Burdick, Philip Curran, Adam B. Sear, Kevin Fred Demick, Dwight Fanton, Gretchen Hanchett, W. Brooke Harris, Stephen Havey, Dwight Mike Healy, John D. Rickey, Jennifer Ricketts Swales, Deborah Root, James Rumfeld, and Philip Stockin. And he has the support of all board members.
Thank you. Would anyone care to make a motion to approve this resolution? The motion is made by legislator Hanchett and is seconded by legislator Healy. This time, I'd like to ask Allison up to the front of the room, please, Ms. Dickinson, and Rita Solbeck Lynch as well, please. Welcome both. Right here is great. So that surname may sound familiar, and as it happens, our January employee recognition went to Allison's husband. They keep it in the family, and not to steal your thunder, but I had to point that out. And he's here joining us today, as well as probably all the members of the employment and training team. So we probably should take the opportunity today to thank all of you for your service to Allegheny County. For those who aren't aware, it was a bit of a challenging week, particularly for that office. And this board recognizes the hard work you did to be adaptable, to be understanding, and to continue your operations. So thank you for that. So in a department that's filled with greatness, it's hard to pick one individual to highlight, but I think this is a great choice. Allison's been an employee of Allegheny County for 23 years. 25, all right, hold on, let me fix that.
Almost 26.
Anyone care to make an amendment to the resolution? We'll fix it. She served in the Department of Employment and Training since 1999. Okay. And as Senior Employment and Training Counselor since 2008. Her excellence in employment assessment, job readiness, training, and the directed job search has helped countless clients achieve professional improvement and employment. Her dedication and strong work ethic are widely known, and her skills in communication, cooperation, initiative, and judgment make her an invaluable member of the employment and training team. Her contributions beyond her employment are many. Not listed on here, but I want to talk to you about it sometime, as I believe you did walk the entire Appalachian Trail.
2,150 miles.
Incredible.
Right,
With Jerry.
In fact, we were in the Great Smoky Mountains right now, whatever many years, 32 years ago.
So how many days did it take you to do it?
Took us about 153.
Any breaks?
Yeah, we spent almost a month in the town.
Did you?
Yeah, well, you have to stop, you're filthy. Not to a certain point where people won't allow you.
Well, I'm impressed. I'm going to get way sidetracked here, but there's an old book called A Walk in the Woods. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
Oh, read it.
And there's a part in it where they've been walking for like 3 months or something, and they get to, I think, Harper's Ferry.
Yeah, Harper's Ferry's about midpoint.
And they look at the map. The map is floor to ceiling, Georgia to Maine, and it says, "You are here," and it's got a little star. and they realize they've only made it about halfway,
Halfway.
and they quit.
Yes.
So I'm impressed that you guys finished it. In addition to that, Allison has served as trustee of the Belmont Free Library, the president of the Genesee Valley Chorus, founding board member of the Allegheny Geobash Committee, that's geocaching, right?
Yes. Allegheny State Park.
Uh-huh. And member of the Genesee Valley Outdoor Trekkers. She served as a volunteer for Red Cross Disaster Services, including at Katrina.
Yes. I was at
After
Katrina, I was at 9/11. I went up to the ice storm in Buffalo. I went to the flooding in the Binghamton. That's just some of them. Those were fun.
And as a disaster chair, I see, and also with Habitat for Humanity as a volunteer firefighter and EMT. So I think a worthy recipient today for this recognition. I'm going to turn the podium over to Rita so she could add a few words.
Good afternoon. As you can see, Allison is most deserving of this honor of the Allegheny County Employee of the Month. She puts her heart and soul into her work every single day, the work she does with her customers and with her coworkers and treating everybody professionally with dignity and respect. She also is a very talented singer, as some of you may know, and certainly likes to lighten the moment with a song. And it's almost impossible to beat her at a game of trivia. But for all of this, she's a great part of our team. And again, it's been a very trying week. And everybody has come out very happy and that we all still like each other and working very well together. And Allison helped pull that off because I was absent. So again, congratulations, Allison. So proud.
Thank you, Rita. Allison, why don't you go ahead and make a few words, and then we're going to have to go ahead and go with formality of actually voting on this resolution. But the floor is yours.
I want first simply to say thank you. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've been very fortunate in my employment here. I'm very fortunate where I am right now that I work with such an extraordinarily good bunch of people, that I have formed so many positive and professional relationships with people who actively and every day represent Allegheny County to the people of Allegheny County in humble service. So I want to thank you all very much for this honor.
Okay, and now with all the evidence before us, is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving this resolution say aye. Aye. All opposed? And the resolution is carried. Congratulations once again. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge because you have so many supporters here, but I would like to ask if we could get everyone from employment and training up here, and Jerry, you as well, if we could get you up here for a couple pictures with Allison, that'd be great.
We have some really stupendous past employees out there as well.
DSS team.
Yes, and the DSS Employment Services Unit is here as well. Thank you, guys. I can't get
Thank you.
The next resolution is intro number 163. There might be too many people on.
They're not up here, working up here.
You can give Brooke yours, thank you. Is this one working? Yes. The next resolution is 16323, resolution recognizing and thanking Jack Emmerich for his extraordinary contributions to the betterment of Allegheny County. This resolution is being sponsored by all legislators.
Okay, would anyone care to make that motion? Thank you, Legislator Burdick, seconded by Legislator Root. Discussion. At this time, I'd like to ask up to the front of the room, please, Mr. Jack Emmerich, and District 3 legislators Dwight Fanton, Deb Root, and Adam Sear, if you could join me as well. Donna, would you like to join us as well, please? IT is blaming me for the microphone snafu. He said I pressed a button. They're always blaming us. Welcome. So as you all know, we've started an initiative this year recognizing members of our community for their extraordinary community service. This month, we asked the legislators from District 3 to find someone within their boundaries who exemplifies that spirit. And before you see Jack Emmerich. Jack is a current and former member of numerous social, volunteer, and service organizations in Allegheny and Steuben counties, including the Arkport Exchange Club, the Hornell Rotary Club, former chairman of the Hornell Chamber of Commerce, former director of the Hornell Area United Businesses, and at various times a member of the Bolivar, Wellsville, and Scioto Lions Clubs, or current in Scioto. He's been a decades-long servant to Scioto, New York, as a member and president of the Scioto Fairlawn Cemetery Association, member of the Scioto Memorial Library Board, as a Scioto T-ball and Little League coach, which is probably the hardest job, and with the Scioto chapter of the Dollars for Scholars program. He's been an active member of both the Scioto United Methodist Church and the, excuse me if I mispronounce this, Connections, thank you, Methodist Church for over 40 years, serving as the chair of the Administrative Council, as a trustee, Finance Committee member, auditor, and he frequently serves as a substitute pastor, and I have heard that he does an excellent eulogy. You can do mine. Just hopefully not anytime soon.
I'll be gone.
He serves on the University of Rochester Medicine Jones Memorial Hospital Campaign Executive Committee, spearheading the fundraising efforts for their expansion and renovation project, which is very important, as we all know, not just to Wellsville, but to Allegheny County. And he's always been committed to the YMCA, but for many years served on the board of the YMCA, the Southern Tier, on their association executive committee as director of the association board, and he's currently chair of the Wellsville YMCA advisory committee. Did I get all that right?
Very good.
We spoke beforehand, and when Deb submitted the credentials for this award, it was no lie, four pages of various activities, volunteer efforts that he has performed in Steuben and Allegheny counties. And as always, it's hard to whittle it down. There's so much more, and he's truly an excellent choice to be recognized by this board. With that being said, I don't know if you would like to say anything at all, or if you would, or any of the legislators. The floor is yours if you would like it.
Well, I prepared some things, but I over-prepared, so I'm not going to go over everything I prepared. But I would like to thank Deb for nominating me, and I'd like to thank all of the rest of you for concurring with her, and it appears that it was hopefully a unanimous vote. If not, I got the majority anyway, so I'm here. So I also would like to thank some people that came with me today. Of course, my wife, Donna, my dear friend Cindy Potter from Scioto is here. She came, and my brother Bill is back there, and another dear friend, Linda Clayson, and my old buddy from Scioto, Scott Burt, and former legislators, you know. So I want to thank them all for coming. It means a lot that they're here. I was going to tell you about my life, but you don't need to know a lot about that. But I do want to say a couple things, and one is to thank this lady right here, my wife Donna. I want to thank her for so many things, but in particular for allowing me to become involved in so many organizations and different things. I'm sure a lot of times she would have wanted me at home when the kids were little, but she never complained, and she always supported me in any effort that I was involved in. And she's truly been a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother, and now a wonderful grandmother. And she is a true blessing to all of us, and I will say that. I wanted to leave you with a thought today, and I had a wonderful grandmother her name was Grandma Di, and she was so very good to me, and I spent a lot of time with her growing up. And I can honestly say that I love her and miss her as much now, if not more, than the day she passed away. I often think of her, and by often I mean every few days. You see, she had a huge impact on my life and left an undying impression on me. I once did a sermon and spoke of her and mentioned all of this, and at the conclusion I left them with this question to think about, and I'll leave this same question with all of you today. And I ask, have you impacted someone's life so much that that person in 10, 20, 30, 40 years after you are gone will love and miss you as much then, if not more, than the day you died? If you have, then I think you've achieved the ultimate accomplishment that life can offer. I just hope that by the life I've led and from my involvement in these clubs and organizations, etc., that somewhere, someday, somebody will remember me and miss me and say he made a difference in my life. Thank you very much for this honor. It's very special to me, and I will always remember it, and I certainly will brag to other people that I got it. Thank you so much.
We're going to vote on it, and then we'll stay up here for some pictures. Thank you, Jack. And with that, is there any further discussion? Let's see what happens. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is approved. The resolution is approved. Congratulations. Thank you. Same routine here. If we get some pictures, you want your family up here? You want your brother up here too?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Here, you take that. Madam, if you would continue with resolutions, please.
Resolution intro number 16423, approval of a state legislative bill which authorizes the continuation of Allegheny County's additional 1.5% sale and compensating use taxes until November 30th, 2025, declaring existence of necessity and requesting passage of bill by the New York State Legislature. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion is made by legislator Stockin and seconded by legislator Root. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy? Here. Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
The resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 16523. Resolution asking Governor Hochul and the New York State Public Service Commission to deny the NYSEG and RG&E rate hike requests and to correct the billing problems before rate hikes are considered. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion is made by legislator Stockin and seconded by legislator Root. Any discussion? This resolution can be voice voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's approved.
Resolution intro number 16623. Approval of transfer of Special Traffic Options Program for driving while intoxicated to the Probation Department. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Havy, seconded by legislator Seer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 16723, creation of 2 temporary full-time office aide positions within the Office of the Public Defender. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety and Personnel Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion made by legislator Havy, seconded by legislator Seer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Yes. Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 16823, correcting 2023 Town of Genesee tax bill for property owned by Thomas and Amy Windus, directing mailing of notice of approval of application for corrected tax rolls and ordering the town to correct the tax rolls, providing for chargebacks or credits. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin and seconded by legislator Root. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
The resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 16923, Approval of grant application for funding for the continuation of the Child Advocacy Center mobile unit for the Department of Social Services. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Yes. Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Aye.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 17023, establishing capital project account H5985 for the Satterley Hill Road Bridge LB 04115 project in the town of Almond. Approval of allocation of budget modifications to said capital project account. This resolution is being offered by the Public Works and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
A motion is made by legislator Fanton and seconded by legislator Demick. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Yes. Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 17123, approval of budget transfer within the Department of Public Works for 2 desks. This resolution is being offered by the Public Works Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Fanton, seconded by legislator Demick. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 17223, acceptance and appropriation of donation funds received by the County of Allegheny through its Department of Social Services from the First Presbyterian Church for the Child Advocacy Center. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick and seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 17323, acceptance and appropriation of the New York State 2022 statewide interoperable communications targeted grant program for the Office of the Sheriff, establishing capital project account H3037. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion made by legislator Havy, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
The resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 17423, acceptance and approval of the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services grant for alternatives to incarceration and pretrial services programming for the probation department. Approval of grant agreement with the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services for the probation department and authorizing the chairman to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety and Ways and Means Committees and he has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Havy. Is there a second? Seconded by legislator Seer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
No.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stacken? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
No.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
11 ayes, 2 noes, 1 absent.
The resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 17523, acceptance and appropriation of New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services body-worn camera program grant for the Sheriff's Office. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety and Ways and Means Committees, and he has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Havy, seconded by legislator Seer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 17623, budget adjustment to reappropriate unspent COVID-19 vaccination response grant funds for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees, and he has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 17723, acceptance and appropriation of New York State Department of Health Local Health Department Performance Incentive Initiative Award for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees, and he has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to congratulate our Health Department for getting this award and the additional money that came with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 17823, acceptance and appropriation of New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports state aid funding, authorizing chairman to execute New York State OASIS State Aid Funding Authorization. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees, and he has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick and seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. Havey.
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 17923. Acceptance and appropriation of increased New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports state aid funding for the Office of Community Services. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees, and he has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick and seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 18023. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Thermo Scientific Portable Instruments Incorporated for the maintenance of an X-ray fluorescent analyzer for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 18123. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Catholic Charities of Buffalo for multi-systematic therapy services for the probation department, authorizing the chairman to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Havey, seconded by legislator Healy. Any discussion? Mr. Healy.
Mr. Chairman, my memory serves me correctly, this is a very cost-effective way for us to provide these mandated services to the youth of our area, and it's nice that we have this arrangement.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 18223. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Text Request LLC for communication software for the Office of the Public Defender and Office of the Conflict Defender, authorizing the chairman to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Havey, seconded by legislator Seer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Yes. Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 18323. Approval of participation agreement between the County of Allegheny and United Healthcare to include the Department of Health as a participating provider for commercial, Medicare, and Medicaid beneficiaries, authorizing the Public Health Director to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick and seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer? Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
The resolution is approved. How would you like the audit this afternoon?
Collectively and by totals, please.
So moved by legislator Stockin. Is there a second? Moved by Stockin, seconded by Steer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's approved.
General government support, 81,988.86. Education, 5,503.23. Public safety, 110,492.29. Health, 15,000.25. Bus transportation, 81,387.58. Economic assistance and opportunity, 842,590.61. Culture and recreation, 1,044.28. Home and community services, 158,232.38. Employee benefits, 6,768.01. Our general fund totaled 1,303,007.49. Payroll and taxes totaled 1,173,654.64. Capital funds totaled 66,904.71. Our other funds totaled 742,808.72, for a grand total of $286,375.56.
Thank you. Does anyone care to make a motion to approve the audit? So moved by legislator Fanton and seconded by legislator Havy. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Audit's approved. Is there any other business to come before this body today? If not, someone's going to have to make a motion to adjourn, other than legislator Rumfeld. So moved by legislator Ricky and seconded by legislator Hanchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned.